You know that creeping dread of imposter syndrome? That terrifying thought that if you open your mouth in a room full of experts, everyone's going to suddenly realize you totally don't belong and you'll lose absolutely everything you've worked for? Well, let's dive right into this because, as it turns out, this isn't just a modern anxiety. Today, we're exploring an absolutely incredible ancient Buddhist text called the Soṇadaṇḍa Sutta. In this explainer, we're going to look at a fascinating story that brilliantly captures this universal human fear. You know, that crippling anxiety of losing our social status, and contrasts it with the profound search for actual undeniable substance. So, meet our main guy, Soṇadaṇḍa. He is a profoundly wealthy and highly respected Brahmin. Actually, he's the lord of the bustling city of Kampa, a really cushy position granted to him by King Bimbisara himself. I mean, the guy has it all: wealth, respect, legions of followers. But when he hears that the Buddha is in town, Soṇadaṇḍa really wants to visit him. There's just one huge problem. He is secretly terrified. He's thinking, if I go and ask a question and the Buddha corrects me in front of literally everyone, I'm going to look foolish. My peers will disrespect me, my reputation will shatter, and because my wealth is tied to my status, I'll lose my income too. It is this high-stakes moment of pure, unadulterated social anxiety. Section 1. A Meeting of Masters. This sets the stage for a spectacular ideological clash at the beautiful Gagaraka lotus pond, and the stakes could not be higher. Just notice the stark contrast in values here. 500 of Soṇadaṇḍa's peers, these are other high-status Brahmins, are literally begging him not to go. They're telling him, you are of pure birth for 7 generations. You have immense wealth, you know the sacred mantras, you are exceptionally good-looking. The Buddha should come to you. They are entirely focused on these superficial external status markers. But Soṇadaṇḍa pushes back. He lists the Buddha's actual qualities: his deep virtue, his total renunciation of wealth, his pure aura, and his wisdom. Deep down, Soṇadaṇḍa genuinely recognizes true spiritual greatness, even if he's absolutely terrified of facing it. Okay, so Soṇadaṇḍa finally approaches the Buddha, but his heart is just pounding. He is sweating it out, sitting there in silence, basically begging the universe that the Buddha will ask him a question about his own area of expertise so he doesn't look like a fool. And here is the brilliant narrative twist. The Buddha, observing Soṇadaṇḍa's internal panic, actually reads his mind. Instead of exposing him, the Buddha throws him a lifeline. He deliberately asks Soṇadaṇḍa a question about Brahmin philosophy, actively saving his dignity right there in front of all his peers. Section 2. Defining true human worth. This incredibly graceful, face-saving question from the Buddha kicks off the core philosophical debate of the whole text. The Buddha asks, what exactly makes someone a superior person, or a true Brahmin? Soṇadaṇḍa, who is now safely back in his comfort zone, confidently lists the 5 traditional qualities his society demands. Number 1, pure birth for 7 generations. 2, mastery of the sacred mantras. 3, a handsome appearance. 4, virtue. And 5, wisdom. To Soṇadaṇḍa and his peers, you need all 5 of these to claim greatness without lying. Section 3. Eliminating the superficial. Now, let's see how this builds, because the Buddha doesn't just accept this list. He guides Soṇadaṇḍa through what we might call a Socratic funnel, systematically challenging these traits. He asks, could we drop one of these and still have a true Brahmin? Soṇadaṇḍa thinks about it and says, yeah, we can drop appearance. Looks don't really matter. Then the Buddha asks again, and Soṇadaṇḍa surprisingly agrees to drop the memorized mantras. Finally, the Buddha pushes on the most sacred cow of all, pure ancestry. And remarkably, Soṇadaṇḍa concedes that even pure birth isn't essential. He actually points to his own nephew in the crowd, a handsome, high-born lad who knows all the mantras, and says, if he lies, steals, and cheats, well, what good are his looks, his birth, or his mantras? So stripping away all that social fluff leaves only 2 core qualities standing: virtue and wisdom. And this brings us to one of the most stunning poetic metaphors from the source text. Soṇadaṇḍa concludes that these two are totally inseparable. He says, virtue is purified by wisdom, and wisdom by virtue, like washing one hand with the other or washing one foot with the other. It's brilliant, right? The crucial point here is this perfect, symbiotic relationship. You simply cannot be truly good without understanding, and you cannot have deep understanding if you aren't living a moral life. Section 4. The Precepts of Virtue. Now, the Buddha takes over the explanation, diving deep into what these 2 remaining pillars actually look like in practice. Let's start with virtue. The sutta breaks virtue down into this massive, highly detailed list of rules, which we can synthesize into 3 broad categories. First up, minor virtue, which involves the core ethics, avoiding killing, lying, stealing, and harsh speech. Middle virtue moves into mental discipline, so avoiding frivolous games, town gossip, and even cosmetics or luxurious beds. Finally, major virtue strictly forbids making a living through base arts or trickery. That means no fortune-telling, absolutely no magic, and no interpreting omens. And just to give you a flavor of how incredibly specific these ancient rules get, a truly virtuous ascetic had to avoid some very surprising things. I mean, you couldn't predict eclipses or rainfall, you couldn't act as a doctor prescribing love potions or interpreting the sounds of animals, you weren't even supposed to play with toy windmills, miniature plows, or guess what someone else was thinking as a parlor trick. The whole goal was absolute purity of action, completely removing any behavior that could manipulate others or distract the mind. Section 5. The Eightfold Higher Knowledge. Once a person's behavior is purified by virtue, the Buddha explains how they develop the final pillar, wisdom. Now, this isn't just book smarts. It is a profound mechanics of consciousness. This sequential spiritual journey starts with mental purity, entering these incredibly deep states of meditative concentration known as jhanas. From there, the text claims the mind becomes so unbelievably powerful it can unlock psychic powers and telepathy, essentially hearing divine sounds or reading the minds of others. This progresses into recalling past lives, seeing the vast cosmic cycle of rebirth, until finally reaching ultimate enlightenment, which is the complete destruction of all mental taints and defilements. And this brilliantly illustrates how the Buddha taught. He didn't just use dry, technical terms, he used these incredibly vivid visual metaphors to explain highly complex psychological milestones. To understand how consciousness is tied to the physical body, he compares it to a beautiful, clear beryl gem strung on a colored thread. To explain projecting a mind-made body, he uses the image of pulling a sword smoothly from its sheath, or a snake shedding its skin. And to describe ultimate enlightenment, seeing reality with perfect, unclouded clarity, he compares it to standing on the edge of a crystal-clear mountain pool and perfectly seeing the pebbles, shells, and fish swimming below. Section 6. Wisdom meets social reality. Okay, so after this soaring, cosmic description of ultimate spiritual freedom, the story brings us crashing right back down to a highly relatable, extremely pragmatic human reality. Soṇadaṇḍa is blown away. He recognizes the absolute truth of the Buddha's words, and he formally takes refuge as a lay follower. He even invites the Buddha for a lavish meal the next day. But, and this is a really big but, he still has to go back to his day job. He still deeply fears losing his public standing, his reputation among the other elites, and, well, his source of income. He completely accepts the profound philosophy, but he kind of needs a secret social pass. Just look at this slightly hilarious but deeply human compromise he proposes. He privately tells the Buddha, look, if I get up from my seat to bow to you in public, my peers will look down on me, and I'll lose my wealth. So, if I'm in a crowd and I just take off my turban, please consider that as me bowing my head to your feet. And if I'm riding in my carriage and I just lower my umbrella, please understand that I am spiritually dismounting for you. He's literally asking the Buddha to accept these subtle, low-key greetings so his peers won't judge him. He has found the ultimate truth, but he just can't let go of his public image. The Buddha, showing immense compassion, simply gives him an encouraging talk and departs, accepting the man exactly where he is. Which brings us to a final provocative thought. We might laugh at Soṇadaṇḍa, but are we really any different? We chase authenticity, yet carefully curate our online profiles. We value inner truth, but constantly monitor how we're perceived by our peers. So I want to leave you with this to reflect on. Can true inner enlightenment, or even just genuine authenticity, ever peacefully coexist with the relentless pressures of social status? Think about how this ancient tension plays out in your own life today. Thanks for exploring this amazing text with me, and keep seeking the substance behind the status.